In the late 20th century, starting in 1973, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC for short, put an oil embargo on the United States for their support of Israel in the Yom Kippur War.
This oil embargo had a trickle effect on the U.S. economy. All markets were subject to this embargo. All in all, supply, or the total number of items and services that can be provided to a customer, went down.
Although in 1974 OPEC resumed selling its oil, the price had nearly quadrupled. As expected, this caused an oil/gas shortage.
When supply goes down, the whole market is affected. Utilization, wages, and company profit all decrease.
The one thing that did drastically increase was the price for an item/service. This caused inflation, increase in prices, and the decreasing purchasing power of the currency.
The Vietnam War and Lyndon B. Johnson's deficit spending helped inflation grow as well.
There already was a high percentage of unemployment under LBJ's campaign, but that number escalated due to these events. High unemployment and inflation is called stagflation.
Stagflation was said to be caused by Johnson's high spending during the Vietnam War. This caused an economic growth to go to 4.9%, but sent inflation rates up as well. In the 1960s, the unemployment rate fell to 3.5% and inflation rose to 6.2. During the period of stagflation in the 1970s, rate of unemployment rose to 4.9% while inflation minimally fluctuated. Also, the Consumer Price Index in 1974 was 12.34%, thus proving stagflation existed. Campaigns were started to attempt to mend stagflation after the oil shock in 1973. A famous one was President Ford's idea to whip inflation now, which urged citizens to cut household spending. The result of this campaign was a rise in unemployment rates to a peak of 8.5% in 1975.
Stagflation occurred in the 1970s due to the federal government manipulating the currency to cause economic growth, though this simply restricted supply and controlled wage prices.
During this period, there were times when gross domestic product, which is the total value of everything produced by all the companies and citizens in the country, was negative.
Also, President Nixon took several steps to combat stagflation by urging that interest rates be raised and freezing workers' wages and business prices/fees.
In the early 1980s, President Reagan came up with a new economic policy that had to do with a supply-side economic system, which is when you decrease taxes and regulate the amount of goods sold, as well as the idea of a free market. This attributed to the conclusion of stagflation during this time.
Socially, our economy affects our daily life and how much we can spend and save.
Politically, we choose our leaders and government officials who can lead us to prosperous times and manage times of stagflation, or keep us out of situations that could cause a recession, inflation, or unemployment.
Interactions with our environment when in times of economic crisis are affected, especially when our government cannot spend extra money to take care for our surroundings and environmental issues like climate change.
Culturally, stagflation creates a time of financial uncertainty, and arts and humanities are often diminished in times of financial crisis. Economically, stagflation means our monetary system is out of balance, and typically businesses are hurt with the slowed economy, inflated costs of goods, and devaluation of money.